And like Rahul mentioned, I'm the 3 times MVP account chief technologist for Peraton, RPSA lead, as well as RP architect for Peraton. This is again, community is UiPath community. I have always a passion about joining this community, a lot of like, strength inside. So thank you so very much everyone for joining. It is my pleasure to kick off this exciting series with our first session focused on testing fundamentals and the UiPath Test Suite. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Your presence is a testament to the commitment to achieving your skills and knowledge in test automation. And we are thrilled to have such a dedicated group of professionals here. In this series, we will embark a comprehensive journey through the world of test automation using powerful UiPath Test Suite. Whether you are new to test automation or looking for deepen your experience, our goal is to provide you valuable insight, practical skills, and solid understanding of fundamental concept that will enable you to leverage UiPath to its fullest potential. Today's session will lay off the foundation for exploring the basic of test automation. Excuse me. Following this session, will in this session actually it will two divided. We'll start with the basic of test automation, and then we'll deep dive into the UiPath Test Suite, which is a versatile and a comprehensive tool designed to streamline and enhance testing process. We'll walk through its feature capabilities, how to integrate seamlessly with your existing workflow, and by the end of this session, you will have a clear understanding on how the UiPath suite can revolutionize your approach for test automation. Our journey does not end here. Like Rahul mentioned, this series will continue to cover advanced topic, real world scenarios, and hands-on demonstration to ensure you gain practical experience and confidence in the UiPath Test Suite. So I highly encourage everyone who has joined us today. So please register for the remaining five section also, because so many exciting works are coming. We are also going to touch base on AI, SAP, and many more topics, including how to set up this whole setup environment also. Once again, thank you all of you for joining us today, and let's get started on this exciting journey of the world of test automation with UiPath Test Suite. So, like I mentioned, we will be starting with the basic of fundamentals of testing. We will set with the core components and capability of Test Suite, introduction to Test Suite, how this Test Suite align with the UiPath platform overall, because this is again just one of the component that UiPath offers. So we will see how it aligns with rest of other things. What are the benefits and value drivers of Test Suite, and understanding how what are the advantage of these UiPath Test Suite. So starting with the very basic fundamental of software testing. Now, what exactly is software testing, right? Software testing, in a very simple words, is the process of verifying that your software is meeting a certain requirement and behave as expected, right? That's all we want. I mean, we want to ensure whatever software application we have developed, it is up to mark. It is working as is expected. And when we talk about software testing or testing requirements, we can differentiate between that into two parts. One is the functional, and one is the non-functional, right? Because our goal is to meet certain requirements, and these requirements are functional requirements as well as the non-functional requirements. A functional requirement is, for example, in this particular case, when a user enters a user ID and a password, they should be able to log into the application, right? Very basic functionality. Whether user is able to log in to the application by providing the right set of credentials, right? That is what we can refer as a functional requirement. When it comes to a non-functional requirement, it means that we do not focus on specific behavior. Rather, we evaluate the operation of a system, right? Whether 100 users are able to log into the application or not, right? Whether even they are able to see the login screen or not, right? So that is the difference between the functional and non-functional requirement, where we in one, we are focusing much more on the behavior, and then second, we are more behaving on the operating of a system. Now, why software testing is required? Right now we understand what is software testing, but why it is required. Now, Software systems are now an integral part of our daily lives. They help us to cover many of our needs and even solve some of the challenges we are facing. We are using apps or applications for almost everything. Think about banking, ordering food, shopping, transportation, paying bills, even this meeting also, right? All we are using is a set of apps. The rise of digital technologies and emerging business models have fundamentally changed the way we interact with the software products. This phenomena is called digital disruption. For everything almost we are now digital, right? And especially with the COVID, the businesses which are not digital, they realize that to stay in business we need to be digital, right? Think about Uber. Uber is a service that is sold based upon software. They don't have a single car. Think about Airbnb. They don't have houses, right? I mean, they don't have properties available. They are just a software service which the business model is all based upon software. So with this digital disruption, this evolution has made its way into industry, and a very simple, the software has become the number one technology in any kind of business. Every business is a software business. Software failure means become a business failure. So if business is all relying on software, it becomes very crucial that software testing needs to be done in order to ensure the application or the system is working properly. Now, to make sure now the business runs smoothly, what we can do, right? We test to seek, and like again, as a continuation of software testing, we test to seek and find problems early in the development process to make sure our application works. The early we find the problems, the sooner we can resolve them, and the more risk we can mitigate. The sooner we resolve the problem, the less we build on top of these problems during development. The less we build on top of this problem, the fewer bigger problems will face and more streamlined development will be. And next, the more streamlined development is, the fewer problems we see in the production. So testing ultimately, like we started bomb, we want to solve these problems as early as we can. So if you will think about all these 5 points, all we are trying to say, testing is just a risk mitigation activity, right? Because what we are trying to do is we want to make sure the software or the application that we have developed works smoothly, so we can safely say that the software testing is a kind of a risk mitigation strategy which we are trying to do as soon as possible so that our business and our software work smoothly. Now, going into more basic concept of testing, this is how a traditional what you call a test process look like. A traditional process look like in a very first is a planning phase. It starts with a SME or a product owner setting a testing objective in planning phase, right? What they do is they said, okay, this is the application, we want to test it out. Then we said the objectives are often derived from functional and non-functional requirement that we mentioned. For example, if I'm developing an application which has a login page, and then it go let the user log in and do further transactions in this application. So we basically set all the functional and non-functional requirement. And then once the objective is there, the testing approach, like how we are going to do the testing, what kind of testing is required, what are the success criteria that will be addressed. So all these are covered during the planning phase of a traditional test cycle, right? After the planning phase, it comes the design phase. In this phase, we transform the objective into list of high level test cases. We prepare the test data and identify the test environment. Once the design phase is done, that is how we move to the implementation phase. In implementation phase, we create all the assets needs for execution, manual or automated test cases. We group test cases into test set, and then we build the test environment. This is how we do in the implementation. And then at the end, the next step is execution. In the execution step, this is where we actually run all the test set according to our test plan that we have already covered in the planning phase. we follow the defined schedule. Okay, this is when we will do continuous testing, and after that, we will do the UAT or pre-UAT and all those kind of acceptance testing. This is when we do all this testing, and then we triggered all this manual and automatic test cases. And at the last phase, which is the analyze phase, that is where we basically close the loop. But the goal of testing is to provide data on the quality of software, right? That is our objective. We are doing the testing to ensure the application is working properly. And this is the time when we have all the data, we have executed all the test cases, we have the results in front of us that help us in determining whether this application is good to go in production, or we need to do additional fixes or implementation in order to ensure the application works smoothly. So these are the five phases in a traditional test process that we follow, and these are the steps that we follow normally in order to make sure the application or in terms of software testing. Now, coming to the next part, which is what are the typical test levels, right? Now we understand the phases. The next part is what are the typical test levels. Starting from the very basic unit is what we call the unit, or sometimes also referred as the component testing. The unit testing focus on testing individual code units. That's why the name comes from the unit. So we are focusing on a very individual code units down to the level of methods and function. This testing is normally performed by the software developer, and we typically mock objects and environment when we talk about functions, right? They may accept some input parameter, or they may have to rely on some other function. So that is where the mocking comes into picture. So basically, this is the very basic first part of the unit testing, which the developers carries out. Then comes the integration testing. Integration testing focuses on interacting between the components or the system, right? I mean, I have one function that may be, say, login, and then the other function which may fetch your credentials or do something. So that is where now we are testing multiple components to verify that these different components work perfectly with each other. After integration testing comes the system testing, which focus on behavior of the entire system or the product. It is also referred as the end-to-end testing, and normally it is being carried out in the pre-production environment. And at the last stage comes the acceptance testing. It also deals with the entire system or product like the system testing. The only difference is this time our stakeholders or the SMEs carries out this testing to ensure that the system is ready for the production. So these are the typical, again, there are so many other things we can add into that, but these are the typical four test levels that comes as for the basic fundamentals of testing, software testing. Then comes the typical test types, right? Like we bit introduced little early in the stage, like there is a functional testing and a non-functional testing, which focus on the behavior, and the other focus more on the operation of system. The next type of testing type is the black box and the white box. The main difference between the two is the visibility and access to the tester to the actual implementation. In the black box testing, it focuses on providing a certain input and verifying the output. That is what a black box testing is. It is conducted by a tester. It can, and then the white box is more performed by a developer. In this case, in the white box testing, the developer has access to the source code. That is the main difference between these two. Normally, white box is conducted by a developer, like mentioned, and the black box is conducted by a tester. Then comes the manual testing. Now, at a first glance, manual testing is run by a person, and automated automation testing is run by unattended robots. But as we will take a closer look, we will discover there are complex layers for each of them. For example, in a manual testing, we have predefined step of operations, right? We have already during the planning phase or in the second phase, you have already created all your steps that, for example, in a login, maybe happy path scenario, where firstly user will add the username followed by a password, then click on the login button. So here the tester is following a predefined step of production, and they are validating that whether this steps are going as per the written down steps or as predefined steps. The scripted manual tests are like more repetitive in nature. Basically, every time you make any changes to this application, we are again following the same step again and again. So just like any other repetitive task, there should be these steps which are we are doing every time there's any change. We need to focus on how we can automate that, right? And then comes the exploratory testing, which is still manually performed, but it is typically provides a high level charter. Then it leaves to the actual tester how he explore in details. And in automation testing, it's also again two types matching into two main layers with a typical software application. In automation testing, either you are focusing on UI or you are focusing on API, right? If you are testing in the API, you need to make sure API is secure and it is working as is expected. In a UI, you are basically testing all the elements and screens are coming as required, right? So that is where the automation and manual testing, if we go a little deep, that is what it is. Now, as we mentioned initially, that applications have grown dramatically. This is the digital disruption, right? In last 4 years, if you will see, there is a 70% growth in the applications, right? So how many apps, if you will see right now, if you will look into your computer, how many apps you have opened or how many browsers or tabs you have opened in your computer right away, right? Baby is one, right? You are, that's how with this whole meeting is conducting. You may be shopping, your Amazon is open, or like your other Zoom or something else. So we are at this moment, at least in my computer, I have opened 6 different apps. So means applications are everywhere. We are spending, or the products or the vendors are spending hours in doing repetitively manual works in order to make sure that these applications are working. So the question comes, if there's a digital disruption, if we are dealing with so many applications, how we are not opting the automation, or why the test automation is not scaling, right? We know that if you will think about how many people have joined, think about in how in your practice, do you do automation testing or you're still doing the manual testing? Many businesses that are still running are relying on manual testing. So the big question comes here is why we are not, or why the test automation is not scaling, right? So there are a couple of factors that are actually preventing the automation. One is the maintenance. We can't keep up with the rate of application changes. Like, I mean, if you see, like we are saying digital disruption, application is changing, and especially with the agile methodology, we are changing every day, right? I mean, it is not like the traditional waterfall approach where you know what we are building. You are changing every day. After every sprint, maybe you have built a screen which the product owner is not liking and you need to change it, right? So what if you have already created all the test cases? Now you need to change, you need to adapt, right? So one reason is the way the rate of application is changing. It is becoming a little difficult to keep up with the changes. And then there comes the complexity. There are legacy tools that cannot handle modern application complexity. Then there are governance that can be fragmented into the non-standardization. Then there are resources. We don't have enough like resources or skilled developers who can create this scripts, right? Because in the traditional or the legacy like test automation, you need to write scripts. So you need skilled resources, and many companies does not have as many as skilled developers or the automation developer, not automation, the test developers who can write those scripts. And then tooling, either we have too many tools or we don't have tools, right? So these are some of the factors that are preventing the automation testing. But the objective here is, without a proactive testing, like we mentioned, keep mentioning that software failure is a business failure. If you don't take care of these bugs initially, all these bugs will be there at the last during the production. And when you find those issues during the production, or in the production, there it requires a lot of, like, I mean, they're expensive. They becomes expensive because you need to spend a lot of money here in order to go back into the whole cycle. So the right approach is to fix this issue as soon as we can, right? So for that, we need to shift these problems rather than fixing this issue during the business phase. Uh, our focus is how we can fix this issue, or at least find this issue during the development. And this approach, moving all this issue, finding this issue during the early phases, is what we call the shift left testing or the shift left approach. Okay, the shift left testing enough? Do we need more? But is this the only thing we need? If we start finding these defects during the early phases of development, is this all we need? So for that, let's move to our next topic, which is called the continuous testing. So the term continuous testing suggests that testing should be seen as an isolated, disconnected island in the software delivery pipeline anymore. It does not mean that. It rather suggests that software testing should be performed at any time, everywhere, in any form, whether you're talking about automated, manual, or exploratory testing. Okay. So continuously testing, like I means doing testing without interruption. We are doing testing in each phase. Like I mentioned, originally, the term continuous testing referred to the ability of executing automated tests as part of software delivery pipeline to continuously obtain quality related information about the software. Nowadays, continuous testing refers to diffusion of software testing from a distinct as well as the siloed pre-release phase to ongoing continuous activity. Means you are testing in each phase, whether in planning, whether you are in design phase, development phase, build phase. So it is a continuous test, continuous like cycle where you will keep on testing. And then there comes the shift left approach, which we discussed. Shift left is the practice of moving testing, quality, and performance evaluation early in the software development. And then there's a shift right where we are also doing the testing of performing this quality check under the real world scenarios. So that is where the shift left and the shift right approach comes as part of the continuous testing. Enough of that, right? I hope you all understand what a software testing is. You understand the different fundamentals of software testing. We have enough of the problem statement, right? I mean, we understand business failure, software failure is a business failure. That is the objective here. But the problem is there, how we can solve the problem, right? How we can empower our test team with all the tools they need to manage, automate, distribute, and execute their work. How we can build a resilient automation. How we can proactively manage quality to prevent production disruption. How we can continuously test to uncover and fix underlying issues. And that is where this whole thing comes into picture, what we call the test suite. It does not replace you in testing, but rather extend, simplify, accelerate, intensify, and amplify your testing work, allowing you to focus on more creative and strategic aspect of testing rather than doing a repetitive testing. So that introduced our UiPath Test Suite. So UiPath Test Suite is a combination, is combining the world leading RPA technology with the best of breed testing capability to sustainably accelerate scaling through proactive testing, cross enterprise collaboration, and a constrained approach to creating and deploying automation. With UiPath, you can revolutionize automation testing for your software, your automation, your and QA teams and test suite, the resilient testing product portfolio powered by the UiPath automation platform. So this is a high level what the UiPath test suite look like. We're going to do a little bit deeper look into that. But like mentioned, the UiPath which we are covering, continuing from the previous section, we talked about continuous testing, right? We talked about the phases, how these phases, how the test suite are like contributing in each of these phases. So like if you will see in the previous example, the test suite is like it has main four components. They are all AI powered component. One is UiPath Studio, Orchestrator, Robots, and Test Manager. These are the four components that we are going to deep dive, and these are all AI powered components. But now when we are talking about these five phases, let's see how each components contribute in each phase. Starting with the very first phase, which is the planning phase, the test manager comes into picture. With the planning, like in planning, we talked about we need to create test traces, we need to create test projects and manage our requirement. That is where the test manager comes into picture. So using the test manager, now you can create your test projects. You can start gathering your requirement. Even like we will cover a little bit in details, this planning phase test manager can integrate with your existing ALM tools that can you can so that you can already the requirement that you have captured in your ALM tool, it can connect directly seamlessly with that also. Then comes the design phase. In the design phase, we are writing and tracking the execution of your test cases. That is where the test manager again comes into picture. That comes the implementation phase. In the implementation phase, that is where the Studio Pro comes into picture. That is, Studio Pro is more like a canvas where you are writing your test cases. So it is contributing for creating your automated test cases, linking those test cases with your test manager, and publishing your test cases into the UiPath orchestrator. And again, don't worry, we are going to cover these four components more in detail. This is at this stage, I'm all trying to say is like how the UiPath test suite is fitting in the test phases that we have discovered. And like the mentioned, we talked about continuous testing. So we are just covering how these four components are helping and aligning with the these phases. And then comes the execution phase. So in execution, it is all about the UiPath orchestrator component. Here we are publishing all the test cases, we are creating test sets, we are creating groups, and we are maintaining the execution, whether you're triggering it, whether you're scheduling it, and it has all the logs for your test result. And at the last, it is the test manager component, which provides you all the analysis that you require in order to see what where your application stands. So these are the five phases we discussed. These are the four components we discussed, along with the continuous testing, how they are aligning it with. So that concludes the alignment of this one. And now this is what a UiPath test product architecture look like. Right in the middle is the test manager hub. Okay. So, but like you start as a automation developer, we start with the Studio Pro here. So the Studio Pro, that enables you to create automated tests just like you will create your workflows, right? I mean, any component, this is more like your canvas where you are writing your test cases. Then the second component comes as the orchestrator. UiPath Orchestrator is a web application that enables you to orchestrate robots in executing your test cases. It manages all your resources, it manages your automation, it integrated with the third party tools like CI/CD like Jenkins, your Azure DevOps. So that is all done using the orchestrator. Then the test manager hub, which is the most important. The main purpose of test manager is to integrate your test suite with the third party ALM tools, because now we are talking about like, what if I don't want to create my requirements in the test manager? What if I want to use Jira? What I want to use some other solution, right? So all these are test manager has provided a REST API or different connectors that we call. Using all these connectors, you will be able to connect your own choice of software ALM tools with the test manager, right? And then there we have the test manager app. This is moreover like a web application that allow you to manage your testing process. Sorry, I jumped. Yeah, and then we have robots, um, are basically helping or execution of your test cases. So this is which is a high level architecture of the test suite. Again, the main component is test manager, which is establishing a connection with your um, tools, ALM tools. We have Studio Pro, which is responsible for creating the automation orchestrator for managing your resources, and robots, which are executing your test cases. So this is at a high level the product architecture look like. Now, how this UiPath Test Suite aligns with the other UiPath tools, right? UiPath tools, like you all may be familiar with, is not just all about testing. It is all about automation. It has so many components, like document understanding. It has tools like task mining, communication mining, right? So where does the UiPath Test Suite fits in here? So think about test suite as a vertical slice, like if you will see here, it is a vertical slice straight through the UiPath platform. And this slice is packed with tools and services for everything from discovering tests, automating them, running them, to managing these test results. Essentially, Test Suite, we can safely call it as a quality hub of the UiPath business automation platform. This quality hub is not just a backbone of your top-notch software application, but also to make sure that the robotic process automation is of high quality. So we are not only testing the application, but it also provides you the capability for testing your automation. And that's what we call two birds, one stone. What does that mean? So Test
Sorry,
Suite.
Atul. Could you please hide this stop sharing because some of the participants are unable to see? Yeah.
Sorry about that. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So now the test suite, like I mentioned, is has dual purpose. One purpose is software testing, right? By using this one, first it's used by a testing team where they can test their software, or whether it's about any software we talk about. You can, whether it's API, UI testing, API testing, or mobile testing. It allows the UiPath test suite allows you to test your application. Secondly, it also allow you, if you are using the UiPath for your automation, it also provide the RPA team to test their RPA testing also, right? So that's where the test suite not only covers one part, it covers the dual part where we can do application testing as well as the RPA testing. The test suite is not just one tool. It is a combination, is a suite of tools. If you will see here, um, now when we talk again, like think about it as a set of tools. Like we talked about studio, we talk about orchestrator, we talk about robots and test manager. Along with this one, there are so many things that you can also do. For example, API automation, the capabilities we are talking about, web automation, desktop automation, SAP automation, mainframe automation, and we are again talking about testing also. You can do web testing, desktop testing, SAP, mobile testing, all this one with the integration of CI/CD, your version controls, and then we can do test management. Again, Test Suite also offer data-driven testing, means now you can create synthetic data. So there's a lot of capabilities that we will be covering in our future lectures. That how the test suite provides the data-driven testing. In the test suite, you are also can manage your requirements. You can integrate with the ALM tools, but test suite also come up with the what you call the requirement management, where we can actually create your requirements. And then it also facilitates creating the manual test for any reason. If you don't want to automate a specific test within the test manager, you will be able to create those manual steps and link up with the requirement. And then there are integration we are talking about. And at the end, for any reason, if you're already using some existing tools, the test suite also provide migration assistant through which you can convert your legacy test cases into the UiPath suite. So if you will see here, this is the whole area is wide when it comes to UiPath Test Suite. And the good thing is it provides both in cloud as well as on-prem offering. So that is the beauty of the UiPath Suite. For any reason, if you don't want to opt for a cloud, it also provides the on-prem offering. This is just again a highlight at a very high level. UiPath Test Suite, we talked about a few times. It is all powered by AI. There are a lot of exciting things that are coming. So just keep a check. We may cover in our this coming sessions what are the different capabilities. I think we had one session in the past where at a very high level we covered about how this whole AI is coming into picture. Believe me, last year also we were into this UiPath MVP. We are all focusing on how we can bring AI into picture, how we can facilitate, make this UiPath Test Suite more powerful. And that is where the power of AI is actually coming, where we can do the AI powered quality checks. Means you can actually evaluate your requirements. You can create your test cases based upon the requirement. So with the AI powered quality check, you can evaluate requirement for clarity, completeness, and consistency. Means you will simply point this tool to your requirement and see whether they are complete, and you can get more clarity of that. Based upon the requirement, what coming next is the test generation. Using those tools, you can now, based upon the requirement, you will be able to create test cases. And once you have the test cases, you will be able to create your test automation using the suite. And at the last, there is test inside, AI power test inside, where you can see why the test cases are failing, where it is failing. So all these are in coming. Some of these components are already available. Some of them are coming very soon. But that is what the test suite power is. It's not just like any traditional suite or tool. It has every component that is built on UiPath Test Suite is powered with AI. So that is very important, and you will be seeing in the upcoming session these power. Now, we talked about the problem statement. We talked about why automation is not popular, or why they are still using, what are the reason the test suite or the automation is not in there in the industry as it should be. And we talked about the test suite. Now let's talk about how test suite steps in to tackle these challenges, right? With test suite, tester, like many of you are here, can easily automate tests across both user interface and API. No more getting bogged down by constant maintenance. UiPath AI back tool ensure robust production grade test automation. Plus, whether you are a developer or someone from the business side, UiPath provides both low code and coding tools for everyone to contribute to the test automation. And the results, well, the customer experienced a massive boost in the test automation using UiPath Test Suite, hitting over 90% in many areas, right? That is what the big savings and the power of UiPath Test Suite is. That is what it is bringing into the table. And again, it's not just talking the talk. UiPath customers walk the walk across industry by using Test Suite. These are just the three examples that I'm giving. NetWest slashed their maintenance effort for test automation by 75%. Docomo, in just 4 months, decreased overall testing by 88% from 5 days to less than a day. Their testing team now perform full regression testing every 2 weeks. Previously, they only had been able to do 4 times a year. Cushman and Wakefield achieved identical struggle result, 95% automation coverage in regression testing, which reduced their overall testing time by a remarkable 90% from 5 days to 4 hours. Again, these are just five examples. And at the end, Rahul and Deepak, who are actively working so many clients along with me, we have a test story where my client recently received award for implementing UiPath Test Suite and how they have achieved a success using the test suite. So these all testimony we will also hear from all of us. Me, Deepak, and Rahul will give you real world example how test suite has enabled us in achieving the success for our customers. Now, we talked about so many things. You may be asking, okay, there are so many other tools like Selenium and other HP has some tools. Why UiPath, right? There are five capabilities that makes this tool a little different. First, Test Suite easily melts with the tools you're already running, right? We talked about ALM, whether it's ALM tool like Jira or CI/CD tool like Azure DevOps, it got you all covered. You can easily integrate these tools. The result, continuous testing even in large and fast-paced software development environments. Test Suite offers low code and no code or a coding tool, both depending upon your expertise level. If you are like who does not know any coding, the platform provide easily drag and drop or simply recording the steps, so you don't need to write scripts. So that is what the beauty of the test suite is. You does not need to be a advanced developer or developer with very limited knowledge. You will be able to perform all the testing. But if you are an advanced developer who wants to do something different or complex, it also provide you the coding tools that you can use to create end-to-end automation. Additionally, Test Suite offer production grade and certified tools for both test management and test execution in the cloud. This means more secure, faster, and resilient testing for you. And lastly, and number four, if you will see about with over 10,000 active users, You are joining a community of experts and partners that all collaborate and assist each other. This is a very big community. Believe me, if you have any question, when you put on a form, UiPath forms, there will be someone who is always trying to help you out up to the detailed level, and even sometimes whether we are MVPs or community resources, we try to even schedule meetings if you get stuck somewhere, and we are always there to help. So community is one thing that is, I personally believe, that is making UiPath overall up to a next level. We have millions of users who are helping us, community members who are helping to make this community big. And lastly, the truly what makes UiPath unique is offer automation with the RPA team. Like that is where I normally start with our clients. That once you have all the UiPath tools, you are getting both the things. You are getting the test suite, as well as in future, if you are trying to do automation of your processes, you have already everything that is required to automate your processes also. So you are getting best of RPA as well as the test suite. These are the capabilities which I believe that make it test suite a unique. And it is just not I'm saying. If you will look into the Gartner report, UiPath is already a leader 5 times in the RPA part. But if you will see here, there's another proof. Last year, Test Suite rocked the cloud testing world by becoming a leader in IDC analyst report. It received the highest score for vision and strategy. Why? Because it is not just another testing tool. Test Suite comes with unmatched test automation, test management scale, tight integration into the powerful business automation platform. So it's bring a whole new game to the testing scene, and it's just not analysts loving it. UiPath got thousands of happy Test Suite customer who love to come and talk about it. So that is the power. Not only RPA, UiPath was already the leader in the RPA, but with the Test Suite, it also become and recognized by the IDC on the cloud testing also. That is what it makes powerful. And then again, like I mentioned, there is something for everyone. For the RPA developer, focus on build resilient automation. Then there is for test team, there is something there. There is for the transformation leader, everyone can get a slice of the test suite. And like I mentioned initially also, it is test suite is fully integrated with the other platform. So Test Suite is just a quality hub with a test platform that enables you to achieve everything. So this is again just the beginning, introduction to Test Suite. In the upcoming session, we will talk more into the hands-on exercise where we will show you how the studio looks like, what is the orchestrator look like, what is the test manager look like, how you can integrate with other components. So a lot of things are coming in the upcoming session. This is just to set the foundation, just to give you introduction about the basic fundamentals and introduction to the test suite and why you need to look into that. The main objective was, okay, we heard about test suite, but why we need to opt for it. So I think I have given you enough in order to think about, is this something that fits into your need? And I will again highly encourage everyone to please join us in the upcoming session, because that is where you will get hands-on exercise. You will get the actual see all the things that we talked about today, whether it's about AI, whether it's about SAP, whether it's about setting up your environment. That is what we are going to cover. So that concludes everything from my side. Over to you, Rahul, and we can be open for question and answers.
This is good. No, thanks, Atul. We had received a couple of questions which I think Deepak and I had addressed. I think we covered most of it. There's one from Praveen. I'm just reading the last question here. I think we kind of answered up until his. If you want to also read that, Atul, I think he's asking. He's creating test cases for web application. How should the project be managed if there are more than 2,000 test cases? Will it affect the publishing part of the project to keep all the test cases in it? Means that I think it depends, I guess, how you manage those test cases. Like if you, Praveen, if you are able to somehow group those test cases under different test sets.
Right. So that's what we are doing. Absolutely. Sorry, Rahul, I was still not able to. Yeah.
But
So yes. So again, when it comes to, there are two parts into, I think what your question is, two parts, whether it will impact the performance or execution. It should not. We are, one of our client has thousands of test cases. We have never seen those. Again, it depends upon how many robots that you're executing it with, right? I mean, depending upon how you have ordered it, like whether you are executing all the sets like in one order. It should not impact any performance, but it also depends upon how many test robots that are executing those test cases. But like Rahul was mentioning, the main area is the grouping those. See, I mean, test cases are one thing, right? But the ideal approach, which we have covered in the very initial set also, to group those test cases into test sets. What typically we are doing is, these test cases sometimes you want to group under, let's say, smoke testing. Like every day, before we release the build, we want to execute it, all the test cases that belongs to a smoke testing, means a bare minimum of test cases that I want to execute to make sure my application on day-to-day environment is working fine. Then there are certain test cases, let's say, for example, I only want to execute it if I'm changing a particular functionality. Then I want to create a test cases that focus on certain area, right? So like Rahul was mentioning, the right approach is, with all these test cases, group them into test sets and execute based upon how we are doing that. So that is the right, and performance should not be any, like, I mean, it should not impact anything no matter how many test cases you are. But yes, depending upon your test robots, it may change.
And then also, I think we're going to cover that topic in the upcoming sessions
Right.
also. There's also a concept of heat map where you can monitor how you progressing on the test cases, and you can also accordingly plan that how do you want to monitor the execution of this test cases in a heat map, and then that could also give you some grouping aspect as to how to bundle it maybe under one application, or how do you. So I think there are a lot of, but technically to Atul's point, the performance should not be the reason for you to limit the test cases you're looking to automate. There are many ways you can plan to manage around the volume of test cases. Praveen, does that
Sorry,
make
my
sense? You want to come
yeah,
up?
my
Ganesh, go ahead, Ganesh.
yes. I have one question. I have one doubts, or I need a clarification whether this test manager is a one orchestrator or it is a one tool which will connect to the orchestrator.
So those are two different components. Orchestrator is different, but test manager is a different component. So
Okay.
yes, but they all get integrated, where your studio will get connected to the test manager, and they are in a very simple, but they are two different components. But yeah, if that is the question.
But they're all connected, Ganesh. So
Yes.
once you, like, if you have a license to test manager, and then if you go to your orchestrator, you would get similar to like any other component that is exposed from your license perspective. You would also see test manager there, because that's your orchestrator becomes your foundation, and then you have access to test manager through it.
And
Okay.
we are
Thank
going
you.
to cover in much more details. We will be actually showing you how to set up this test manager, how to create test cases, how to link that. Those are all planned in our next sessions, where we will give you handouts also, if you are facing any challenges, because there are some areas where, whether connecting to the set manager or studio, if you are facing any issue. So we are going to cover that in our next section also in more details.
Hey Atul, I have one question. Uh, we are have the orchestrator on-prem, and if we need to install this test suite, does it on the same server or has to be next any other server and then linked to the orchestrator?
So, Deepak, you won't have any, like, I mean, I can, on a very high level, I mean, we are using on the server, or Rahul, you want to add that anything? But I mean, I don't see any constraint here. Again, when it comes to overall infrastructure deployment, there are multiple ways to do that. There's more like infrastructure where we can go into more details about single node, multiple node, and all those one. But I don't see there should be any restrictions on that. But we honestly, I cannot be like 100% sure about the hardware and specific requirement. Each component has a set of hardware and software requirement. that I need to refer before I can be absolutely sure about that.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Sorry, I have a question.
Hmm? Go ahead, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we
Yes,
can. Go
yes.
ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question. Is it possible to do without the other, like if we want to test everything in UiPath, is it possible not to probably just, oh, let me just put it this way, not to use other um, third-party uh, platform, so we can just stay within the UiPath, like Test
Yes,
Manager?
absolutely. Test Manager offers you, see, I mean, in requirements, right? I mean, you may want to use ALM or Jira. That's whatever most of the customer are using in the legacy. But you don't need to be having a third party software. Everything, this whole UiPath Test Suite is a complete package. You don't need to go outside. So you can manage all your requirement in Test Manager. You can have your test case created here. You can execute it here. You will get all the results here. So absolutely no, you don't need to go anywhere outside, but it is just an add-on for any reason. If you have those additional tools like DevOps AI, Jenkins, or even in ALM have a different tools, it provides the capability to also integrate, but you can manage everything within the UiPath Test Suite also.
All right, thank you.
Hmm. If there are no more questions, but I mean, really appreciate with the attendance here. We really encourage everyone. Again, like Deepak mentioned, Deepak has also added a link in the chat window. We highly encourage everyone to please attend all the 6 series. This is some event which comes not every time. A lot of speakers are coming. They are showing their expertise here. So please take the advantage of these series. A lot of hands-on exercise, a lot of deep knowledge about the AI and SAP is coming on the next coming session. So please join us in the upcoming sessions, and we'll more than happy to answer any other questions. If not, you can always reach out to Rahul, me, and Deepak if we are not able to answer anything in this meeting.